Escape from Plan A.
Escape. Escape.
From Plan A.
All right, hey, welcome to another Plan A live stream. I'm your host for today, Adam. I'm here with Jong and our special guest, Austin, or as he's better known as AYEKAY. How you doing, guys?
What's up, guys?
And Austin is actually the guy who created our awesome intro music that we were just listening to part of.
Yeah, it takes me back.
Yeah, man, that was... When did you make that for us?
Oh, man, I think that was like... It's 3 years now. I think time's flying. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago, man. So, and what's been happening with you, man? You just graduated from college, so congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. The marketing degree, I guess it's pretty cool. I mean, like...
all right, yeah, marketing.
Just doing it for, I was like almost done, and low-key, I was kind of like, man, I don't really... I was like, I was almost done, so I was like, you don't want to waste all this time. I was like...
Might as well get it done, right? Get that paper.
Too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to be using it for yourself.
Definitely. I wasn't like thinking I could get a job, but now there's like all these remote positions opening. I'm like, all right, for sure. Like, because I would think work culture, honestly, because I was getting tattoos and stuff. I was like, man, I don't know. People are going to like not take me as serious, but I was like, fuck it, yeah.
Do you have one on your hand?
Yeah, I have my mom's name, and then I just got like these like symbols. But,
all right.
Yeah.
Like hands and face tattoos were called job killers.
Yeah, and neck tattoos.
Yeah.
Right?
No, exactly. My parents were very, like professional. So yeah, they've always drilled it into my head.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's cool, man. And so we wanted Austin on just because we think he's awesome, and it's always been a great like having him on the podcast and stuff. And we thought he'd be a great guest. And we want to talk about your music, but we do know. Like I saw from a couple of your tweets. And maybe around the time that you graduated, that like you're looking to get into like another phase of your music, right? Like maybe change stuff up. Like, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, what do you mean?
I've been kind of just internally dealing with like why I even make music. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And like, obviously, I want to make music that just just sounds good, period, and just brings a good vibe to people. But like, the way that the social media culture in the world is heading. I kind of like just look at like around at people and what like kind of see what maybe they're doing it for, I'm like, and a lot of the times I think nowadays, maybe the last 5 years, a lot of entertainment, including the rap game and music, has become like kind of disheartening for me because it feels very like fast foody, you know what I mean? And not to say that like there's not a lot of good music being made. It just feels like, I don't know, to just put it frankly, like a lot of people care more about the looks of everything, with all like social media, you know what I mean? Hey man.
What's up, Filip? Yeah.
How's it going?
So like, with all the Asian stuff going, oh, sorry about that. It's going great. How you doing?
No, it's good, man. Just keep going.
I'm doing good. You're going good. I'm pouring my beer, so.
For sure. Oh yeah, just with all the Asian stuff happening as well. And I'm seeing a lot of Asian artists, step up to the plate and make music about it too, But I don't know. I guess like when I first started, I felt like very like, I don't know, fresh face and like, you know what I mean? And like being Asian was like my thing, kind of like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But now like, I feel like there's a lot of people that speak better than me about these kind of things. So I'm like just trying to find like I don't want to just do it to like and like use these kind of issues just to like put myself up, you know what I mean? I don't like doing that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like you don't want to do it just because other people are doing it, right? Like
yeah, and
you don't want to just sort
do
of
it better than me.
Yeah.
Like I think so. Like at least that message. And I'm like, well, what else could I talk about? I could just kind of try to like make music that relates to the universal human experience, which I try to do, but like it would be weird to not like, But I'm trying. That's what I'm wrestling at. So I'm just ranting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a trap.
No, that's
that,
cool.
Like, I mean, two things, right? Like one is the whole like, okay, music nowadays versus music back then, and the meaning and the message and how much, like, that's like, literally, I shit you not, 15 minutes ago somebody was outside playing some like blues or something and shouting out to the world, like telling all the kids in my neighborhood, like, that rap shit ain't music, you kids don't know shit about music. Like, yeah, I said it, I shit you not, literally just 15 minutes ago.
That's so funny.
It's like
I used to call those kind of people like out of touch, but now honestly, the older I get, the more I relate to that, because I listen to a lot of oldies, just like the Isley Brothers and such, and like music just used to be a lot more about like love. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I want to take music to, but like, yeah. Sorry,
I mean, you'll see that No, you'll see that. What I'm saying is, like, you'll see that conversation even in like the '90s and 2000s with like hip hop versus rap, right?
Right.
And
And R&B, yeah.
Yeah, so that conversation is always going to be there, and it's always going to happen. Like, you're like, in 10 years, we're going to be hearing about like how trance is the real EDM because blah blah blah. And, like, it'll be some bullshit like that. And then the second thing is, like, about music, I think there is a lot of pressure to talk about like some message that everyone can relate to and this and that. But
it's like getting tattoos. Like, everyone's like, you gotta have a meaning, or like, you know what I mean?
Well, it's sort of, but not quite. I would equate it to like, that approach is getting a tattoo that you think is meaningful for others, right? But what people are, I think what people are looking for is they want to know like what's meaningful to you, and then find a way to relate to it, right?
That's true.
And so like, I hope that you will also consider like, just like, what is it that you want to say, regardless of how it appeals to a larger audience or whatnot, and you might be surprised, right? And then like 100%. The other thing I want to encourage you with too is there might be people that could do it better or are doing it better in your opinion, but it doesn't really matter. Like, it's great that you're out there and you're putting shit out, right? Like, that's the important thing in my opinion.
Appreciate it.
So I appreciate that.
Thank you for the encouraging words. I really appreciate it.
Oh, sure, man.
Oh, yeah.
Are you guys giving Austin advice because he's a young, just past college kid?
I don't think it's advice. I don't see it as advice. It's just my perspective.
Yeah.
For sure. I appreciate advice from anyone. Doesn't matter if you're old or younger, for sure. Like,
encouragement, man. It's just encouragement.
I have two friends. One of them actually still makes music. Like, he started making music in college, and has continued to make music. And like, as far as I know, he's not like selling out stadiums. But what's cool is that he keeps doing it, and he's just doing it because that's what he likes, right? And then my other really good friend, he put out a rap album in college, and he's like, I have no aspirations to be a rapper, like, but I just want to do it just to say that I did it, right? And that's totally cool too. Like,
I'm like in the between there somewhere now, I feel like, but yeah.
You definitely are, right? I mean, I would say you're more towards my friend Sahir, who, like, we're a few years older, so he's had time to do all these things, and he's probably really, I don't know, I'm sorry Sahir, you probably have released like 4 or 5 albums by now.
Well, like
I've lost
little
track,
mixtapes.
No, like full on produced albums.
Oh, your friend. Okay, gotcha.
My friend,
gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha, sorry.
Yeah. And just what I'm saying is, like, I think don't overthink it. Like, just fucking do it.
Thank you. I appreciate
Enjoy
that.
it.
I appreciate, like, honestly, for anyone to like even like take the effort to say something like that, I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Because people would just rather just ignore you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you find your musical interest changing at all? Like, as you're...
Yes, for sure. Like, Phil, did you want to add something? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I might reconnect. I'm a bit laggy, but I was gonna say, like, the stuff that you put out, not just the tracks, but like the music videos are so polished that, like, if we didn't know you're like this young and like this maybe newish to the game, that you'd have an impression that you're a super successful, like, well produced, well connected rapper already, right? So it's just kind of interesting, right? I don't know if that is also a factor, like the kind of fidelity of the art you put out, even if you're not a huge hit yet. Like, does that make a big difference? I assume it does, because there's like an aesthetic that people are looking for, right? For stuff that goes viral.
For sure. I appreciate that a lot. honestly, I don't think I can compare with some of these other people, like, for sure, quality-wise, because it's usually just me and my friend and a camera. But honestly, nowadays, it doesn't matter as much because you can make it work with your aesthetic. But my main problem is honestly having people, like, I feel weird asking, or, like, my friends to do it for free, right? So, like,
Yeah.
and that's like
Yeah.
the struggle of like being like a broke rapper basically, and like trying to get a day job and like wrestle between that. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at right now, because I don't, like, all my friends are like on their own paths of life now, you know. So I don't want to like be the egotistical rapper guy. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But I do think it definitely impacts the fidelity of, like, you know, how people take it, because, you know, you got to kind of fake it till you make it these days. A lot of these
absolutely.
influencers, you know, they post in front of these like Lambos and shit, you know, they might have like rented it, you know what I mean? So it's all about, you know,
renting
providing,
private jets, that kind of shit.
for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's what makes me disheartened, because I feel like a lot of it these days is kind of just like, what are we selling to people? You know what I mean? Like the brains that were like influencing kids, everybody, you know, it's kind of like going in a very like degenerate direction. Even like, you know, people, and then people always bring up the argument like, it's always been like that. Yes, that's true, but I feel like it was like, it made it sound like weirder to say, but it was done in a more like tasteful manner. Now it's kind of very just like, you know what I'm saying, like very blatant with everything, violence, sex, like, yeah,
Feels very calculated. I don't know. Like
For sure.
it's like done consciously to sell a particular image, or yeah, like this is the way it's supposed to look, so that we're doing it this way. Like, yeah, maybe it's just nostalgia, but like it seems like it was more organic. Like, and maybe it was because it was like the first ones doing it. Maybe it was just like it was so new that it seemed organic. Now it's like, this is just what you should be doing because that group did it. Maybe.
for sure.
So
I think it's like capitalism, like fueling the direction, and at the same time, like, because, you know, people want to see, you know, messed up stuff, or like, you know, like crazy lyrics, or like, you know, shock value, and like if that's what's the money's coming in, you know, and then so we're just kind of like going towards that direction intentionally and unintentionally, because that's where the music's heading, you know. I mean, that's where the wants of the people are heading, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I feel like it's kind of a dangerous slope, because I mean, paying attention to rap music, it's always been violent, but now it's just kind of like really like super like calling out like names of people you've murdered or something, you know what I mean? Like things like that. But yeah, but I don't know. I'm wrestling with it. These days I kind of just want to pick up a guitar and learn how to play it. Like, I feel like
go for it.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays, like, the vocals, and like, I used to be, you know, I'm like a songwriter, so I'm like, that's the most important part of the song, the meaning, right? But now, I don't know, nowadays I'm like, people are saying too much shit they don't mean, or like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know, that's where I'm at, like, too much voices that like, they're just like, puppets, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, money-backed, like, lobbyists or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for going on a rant.
It's the real.
No, that's cool,
532.
man. This is a good question. I think is like, has the music industry gotten friendlier to Asians? So I guess that also like makes me want to ask you, Austin, like, what has your experience been with the music industry? I mean, we know that you, as you said, like you go to your friends and say, look, you know, I want to shoot this music video for my song. Like, can we rent a few cars and like get some of your like friends to come and like sort of, you know, dance and stuff. But like, I wouldn't, at least for me being a total outsider and layperson, I wouldn't like categorize that as the music industry. But have you had much of an experience with, I think, the music industry proper?
I've been in certain sessions that were like legit, in like studios that like I guess what I call him my big bro in a sense, but he's like a pretty pop-in engineer, right? So
okay.
I've sat in on like one or like a couple sessions, but it nothing like too professional, to be honest with you. But honestly, I've never really gotten any like pushback or racism on my end from like people. Like, I've gotten, you know, like, obviously maybe the biggest thing is people are less likely to take you seriously, you know, as soon as you tell them you're a musician, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like in general, just like from anyone saying you're a musician, not like racially, just sort of musician.
I guess more so as a rapper, like, you know what I mean? But as far as the question, I think the music industry has definitely gotten net positive friendlier for Asians in the past couple years. As far as like really breaking through, not yet, because it still that tinge of not being taken so seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're like a novelty act, like, oh, that's like the Asian music or rappers. You know what I mean? But there's a couple artists doing it now, like this girl named Audrey Nuna. There's like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many names, right? I don't want to leave anyone out or act like, but you know, definitely.
It's cool, man. Look,
Yeah.
I don't have like much of a knowledge here, so if you can drop some names, I'm sure other people like.
Well, let's say like, I'm not even well versed enough
Hold
to
on,
say.
so-
I don't like embarrassed,
Maybe
but-
Jong.
Earlier, you said you had you were finding that other Asian artists were rapping about anti-Asian hate. I haven't heard any songs from just from being online on Twitter and like
Yeah, that'd be good.
different
Yeah.
articles and stuff. Like seeing anything coming in, like what would you recommend in that vein of like stop Asian hate?
Well, see, that's the issue. They're never like official songs, right? They're just kind of like Instagram verses. They'll put like a clip of them. Make, you know
Oh,
what
they
I
do
mean?
like a
Ah, okay.
yeah.
Like a
I have
freestyle or
that,
something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure China Mac has put out a song.
He
of course,
definitely
yeah.
has. He definitely
like,
has.
I'm pretty sure he has.
He's pretty much the face of that movement from like that side of Asian America. He's like the most famous like name from that whole group of folks, right? Otherwise, they're just
Yeah.
like the AWA Instagram Asians, but
Yeah.
he's the one who actually like he's a celebrity. So
Yeah,
sure.
and then I don't know about any songs like specifically about Asian hate. And I was trying to find it before, like I was kind of in a rush trying to find it, and I was gonna ask you, Austin, about like if you had heard the song. Do you understand Korean? Like, can you like hear
honestly,
Korean rap
I
and
can-
like pick up some of it?
Pick up some of it, yes, but not
Yeah.
fully, to be honest.
Well, Yeah, I mean, I'm on the same level, and like it takes multiple listens for me. Anyway,
Gotcha.
I'll like try and find it later, and maybe we'll put it in the show notes or something.
But just to add, one off top, Year of the Ox, they do a lot. They made a lot of songs so
true,
far.
true.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
yes.
But that's just off top. Yeah, like.
They did release a song. I don't know the name of it, but they for sure released a song talking about like coronavirus and everything.
Definitely.
And then they've also released other songs talking about it. But this is like some Korean rappers, and actually, I don't know if you know this, but like a lot of the Korean rappers are actually like Korean American or like somehow kind of like move back and forth,
Yes, sir. My brother encouraged me to like learn Korean so I could go over there and work, and I'm like, I always been a little hesitant, but I definitely regret not doing it sooner. Honestly,
It's a shame because there was a period, man, where like Korean rap was like there was a huge window there, but I digress.
that showed me the money thing, right? I mean, like he told me to like do it and get on that show. I was like, wow, I don't know about this. Like, is it really like popping like that? But yeah.
Yeah.
That was a window
Anyway,
miss, but yeah.
there's a pattern there, right? And and so like these like it was a collab, and there was like 4 or 5 of them on this track, and I forget who, but one of them was talking about like his experiences growing up in LA, and it's translated. He's talking about like he's like, look, it was me and my brother in an all black neighborhood, and like
Yeah.
we would get bullied and picked on, like my mom
sure.
would see me come home with black guys, and he's like, he's talking about like the only way I knew how to respond was like whatever they gave to me, I gave him back 2 times, right? And like that's how he learned to survive, and so there are some songs about that which kind of touch on the topic, not so
That's amazing.
directly. Like, yeah, I'll try
That
and
they're
find
like
it. It's
that they're like giving the message to like the homeland. That's amazing. Like we face racism over here. Like, you know what I mean? Like.
yeah, I don't. To be honest, I don't really know like which direction the message is intended for.
Okay.
Because
He's on the other side of the.
I mean, I don't know. I don't like without like I can't remember which like who wrote the verse. Like I don't even remember the name of the song. So it's I don't want to take a chance on that. But
Gotcha.
for me as an Asian American listening to it, I felt that it was speaking on like an Asian American perspective on it too, not just for a native Korean that is completely not versed. Because like even just talking about the situation already, it requires a certain knowledge and awareness of like racial and social politics in America.
For
Right.
sure. Hmm.
Yeah.
You just kind of gave me an idea. I mean, this has probably been ran with so much. Like the Korean American guy goes to Korea and tries to be like the Kyopo rapper, right? Like.
Well, dude, like dumbfounded is basically like
Shout out to
what?
Is
Yeah.
that true?
I mean, dude,
They all. I mean, they've all tried to do that. I mean, let's be honest here. Like
they all try
every
to do
every
that.
Korean rapper. Yeah.
Dumbfounded is probably like one of the more popular ones because I see Dumbfounded like Jay Park. I think probably could like occupy that sort of in between as well, but if, at least for me, and I could be totally mistaken here, I see Jay Park as more like coming from Korea to America, right? When he got signed recently, whereas like Dumbfounded, I think of like American homegrown, and even though he immigrated here,
Straight up.
and then is going to Korea, and like there's a couple of his verses, where he's like, everyone's trying to come over to Korea and like hop on tracks, but like who's doing it like I am? Like who's on every single collab and every single
Why we gotta be so competitive?
Yeah.
Why can we bring each other up?
I mean, but that's interesting that you say that. Like, you feel like Dumbfounded is more like he started in America and sort of just going to Korea, and then Jay Park is sort of like more quote unquote homegrown Korean coming back to America to be popular. Like, because I kind of feel like Jay Park is.
Even though he's from Seattle, right? He's from Seattle.
Yeah, like Jay Park, and
That's what I'm
was,
saying, is like-
it's sort of the opposite,
But
right?
he
Like,
blew up over there, though. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
but
what
like,
yes,
he
exactly.
didn't have any popularity in America, and then he went to Korea to start his career, and then he's super popular in Korea, and then he's trying to come back to America, but he was born in America, right? Well, Dumbfounded was born in Korea, came to America, became popular here,
Dude, but
and then
this
trying to go
this
back to
Asian
Korea.
entertainment
Like, it's
shit-
sort of.
This Asian entertainment industry is so wild. Like, because it's literally just like American and exports and imports and like from Asia and back in like who's the American ones, like, you know what I mean, like
It's
Yeah,
interesting
it
because like isn't the appeal on either side, no matter where you're starting from, that the thing is exotic? Like in Korea, the American-ish guy is exotic, and vice versa.
and they have like a
right?
niche culture. They're like, you're a Korea boo, or probably in Korea they're probably like, you're a Western boo or some shit. You only listen to Western rap music. Like
I'm sure
be
there's gotta be
honest, I don't-
there's gotta be slang for Koreans who are like whitewashed.
there's
In
definitely
Korea.
probably I'm crazy I don't know it, but there's definitely
Yeah, because they don't call us that.
What was it for? Was it Hollow Bamboo? I don't remember from our podcast about what's that game called?
what was it, halal bamboo?
Oh, from Sleeping Dogs.
Hollow.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah, Hollow Bamboo.
Dang,
Yeah.
that's a good
yeah.
one.
You look-
He's
Sheesh.
the
the
Americanized
perfect
Chinese guy.
That one cuts deep. Damn, that one's like poetic. Like, damn, hollow bamboo. Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah, and it's right because, but again, that's sort of like it's more interesting because he was born in Hong Kong. Like, that character was born in Hong Kong, and then like grew up in L.A. and then came back to Hong Kong as a cop, undercover. It's a whole thing. But
Dude, Asians just need to man, we just need to stop doing all that shit. Like, I've never
Why?
had a problem
No.
getting.
No, it's part of what's like interesting about us, as opposed to like other Americans, right? Is that
Oh no,
like,
for sure. Just
we
the
have
hate.
this-
Just this like measuring of each other all the time, or like just
oh,
like the
that
stand up,
the sizing up and like
Yeah,
yeah.
Because my whole life I've never had a problem getting along with fobs, or like I don't know if that is fucked up to say fobs now, but like
It's a
Fob-
short form. It's a short
yeah.
form word.
I mean, like I've been like really good friends with like fobs, and like some Asian people feel like weird about it, So I'm like I don't know, man. Like, you want to distance yourself away from them because they remind you of like your Asianness, like, you know what I mean? It's like I don't know, it's just weird, like.
Yeah, I mean it's not anything new, right? I wonder if that's the same thing about also being an Asian rapper is like, if you're ever at a party with another Asian rapper, it's like you guys are the same guy. Like you have to basically fight for popularity, like that kind of situation. Not that kind of situation, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's such a rare space to occupy for maybe Asian guys that it kind of can become like your thing, or people think it's like your thing, and so it gets competitive up there, right? Just like being like the only Asian guy in like a company, or sorry,
Right,
not the
right.
only Asian guy, the second Asian guy, right, at a company.
You know,
you can be the one. It's the second one that's the problem.
Yeah, it's like it creates that weird tension that wasn't there before because of expectations of maybe everybody else, which is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it's great you guys bring that up because I think it was an article or some Instagram post I read where there's like it talked about like the ultra competitiveness of Asian men towards each other in the West because of like
Yeah.
the lack of we gotta like be the one Asian like you guys said, and like when I read it I was like it kind of hit me like wow, that is so true. I never really kind of like put that into words or thoughts, but yeah, I mean there's always like two Asian guys, you always kind of like you feel like they're sizing you up sorta, and it's like like At least like I mean, not really. I'm like framing it very negatively, but like you kind of like feel that like little competitiveness to be like the more like in a workplace
more,
or something.
More not
like,
the stereotype, right? More outgoing.
That
more
is
funny,
true. Yes.
More charming. Whatever they think we're not is the idea.
Yes.
And it's kind of fucked up because in both cases it's about like appealing to white approval.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Which is kind of a fucked up situation. Like it's like you're a dog, right? Like that's the kind of expectation that you feel in yourself when you're in that space with another.
It makes you
person
feel
who should
small.
be supporting.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because you should be supporting this person, like, right? It's your fucking people, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
the fact that we're letting their like validation of us get in our, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, that's fucked up. Like,
Yeah. So I've seen that in workplaces, but what about in in the hip hop space? Like, the Asian hip hop artists back each other up, the producers back each other up.
man, that's a good question. I think this is. I don't think I'm the kind of guy to answer it because I think overall they do support each other, I think I'm just
Okay.
kind of more of like a brash person, you know what I mean? So I'm admittedly have a lot of like, just personality stuff I'm working on myself because I'm pretty young, So I'm like realizing lately I gotta be more like patient and just kind of a more like calm person, because I'm kind of a spaz sometimes, and that can be kind of like hard to like. Because I was going through a phase maybe like 2 or 3 years ago where I was just kind of like off the rail as far as like I was like I was doing some drugs and like and like I think in some of the spaces that I occupied in that time period I might have like kind of rubbed people the wrong way just being all like sloppy and foolish, you know what I mean? So
We've all been there, man.
yeah. So like right now I'm kind of like trying to rebuild my myself and even my self-image amongst people, like trying to gain the trust of everyone back, you know what I mean? Because, like, I've just been going off the rails and sometimes, but yeah. But, yeah, no, Asians definitely support each other. I mean, I see it myself. I just wish they supported me more. So everyone...
Yeah, we just thought this was a funny comment about, sort of the whole, there can only be one Asian. Yeah, Asian
That's
Highlander.
exactly what it is.
But,
And not to mention when you bring in, like, inter-ethnic Asian, like... Oh, there's like one Chinese guy, one like Korean guy, and then it becomes like a whole other thing. There's a whole another dynamic to it, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
It seems to me though that the opportunity, like the window of opportunity, is larger than ever before. Like I used to think, like EDM and like techno, like that whole scene kind of worked because like people don't really think about ethnicity with DJs. I think unless you're like a celebrity DJ.
True.
Right. Whereas like as a rapper, you're in front of everyone, right? You're your face, and I felt like, at least for me, I felt like that was one of the barriers, right? Like people don't want to see an Asian guy, and so like I kind of feel bad for Dumbfounded because I really like, generally speaking, like I like his raps, his freestyles are hilarious and good, but he was just ahead. He was just too early. Like it was like him, Jin, and like China Mac,
Yes.
just like struggling just to get enough. And I'm kind of sad for him because like now I feel there's a larger opportunity than ever. You got Higher Brothers. I mean, Dumbfounded also is doing things. You've got Bohan Phoenix out there. You've got like the whole 88 Rising. You've got Jay Park and his Higher Gang, right? And
It's an amazing point you bring up because it's like this breakout moment for Asians in the media. It's like we've all been waiting for this, whether you're like 50 or 15. You know what I mean? So it's like I like maybe sometimes even let's just say like a 50-year-old Asian actor sees all this happening now. He might have kind of like a feeling like he wished it happened sooner, But it's like that's why I don't feel like it's just a young person's time, like a young Asian. It's like all our times in a way. You know what I mean? It's like not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I don't want. I guess a lot of people might think like only the youth can do it, but really we've all been having this bamboo ceiling on us for a long time, and I've seen it with my parents, like just like
Right.
not being able to like work their way up into the workforce. Like so it's all of our times, you know what I mean? Like it's time for us to like really take our political power and like for sure. Everything you said I agree with right there. That just like it's funny you guys I feel like we're having like this like connected Asian consciousness because all the things you bring up are stuff that I've like been thinking about or have heard other people talk about, so it's like Yeah.
The stereotypes are real. We do have a hive mind.
No, it's true. It's because they forced us to, right? I mean, like, fuck them. Like,
Yeah, man. Well, so maybe this is a bit of a random segue, but earlier on, like you were showing us your tats, and like you're talking about, or you mentioned sort of in passing about how maybe you had concerns, or like your parents maybe had concerns about you getting a job, and like you're in marketing and everything like that. But like, I think something that maybe you've talked to Teen about, but I think is always super interesting is sort of the idea of like the fear of getting in trouble, or the fear of like sticking out, or like that you're going to do something that is going to preclude you from, I don't know, just being able to eat and like have a roof over your head. And especially, I think in general, musicians sort of have that fear, or have that sort of stigma, or like that sort of like a stereotype of musicians and that career path. But like in general, I think we just have this aversion to sort of, you know, taking a risk and getting in trouble, or like if we get in trouble, it's sort of like a death knell. You can't ever get in trouble, or like you're never going to do anything, right?
Yeah, we're like
so
ostracized. We're like,
yeah. So like for you, like, what does that mean? Like, what do you like? How has that affected your life? Like, it just, you know.
Wow. Okay, so that's a good question. I feel like it's like I've been given, like, honestly, sometimes it feels like a blessing and a curse. Because I feel like I didn't grow up with maybe like the most healthy family. It was a little toxic. You know, even now we don't like always get particularly along. I hope no one sees this, because, you know, but you know, it's not like there's still family ments to be, you know, dealt there. So like the older I got, like my parents have always, as a kid, instilled like, oh, you gotta like, you know, you represent your family, you know, and like when you go out into the public, that, you know what I mean, you gotta make good decisions and stuff. So. Like my dad became like a newfound like a pastor. He became a Christian pastor when he was like 50 or something. And I remember when I was young, we would go to church all the time, and like my mom would always tell me like, you know, you gotta, you know, you're like a pastor's kid. You gotta be like good. You know what I mean? So maybe that obviously it's like the stereotype that pastor's kids, you know, like act out. So I was definitely a cliche in that sense. But the older I got, the less I cared about what my like family thought about me, because. I mean, I just figured that, like, honestly, no one really understood me but me, and I felt like no one was really trying to. That's an honest feeling, so,
Sure.
Yeah, and then, like, and I, you know, a lot of people have a lot to lose, so I guess that's what I was trying to say, like, it's a blessing and a curse that I don't have as much ties to think about, you know? It's kind of just, like, my mom, like, my mom, my dad, and my brother, and my, like, and, you know, they kind of let me do my thing at this point because I'm older, but, so, you know, I feel like they love me regardless, so I truly feel like they do, you know, even though they wish I did other things, you know what I mean, but, yeah, it's definitely, like, I see why people don't and have an aversion to conflict, because, you know, there's a lot to lose, you know, life is not a game, you know what I mean, especially when you're talking finances and, like, yeah, so I feel like, I'm not like, I didn't come from the most like shitty situation economically, but I wasn't like rich or anything, right? So I feel like I had a little, you know, I was blessed. I had a little space to like make mistakes and shit, you know what I mean? So I learned, like, a lot of Asians don't have that. So like I learned a lot about other, even races of people just getting in trouble a lot, going to like these like behavioral therapy, you know, all that bullshit, you know what I mean? Always being the only Asian guy, you know what I mean? So I've learned a lot about how like people see me, and how, you know, you gotta like, you know, show yourself to like be respected, or, you know what I mean? In America, at least, because it's a wild game over here, you know what I mean? But yeah,
Adam,
so
Adam, when you were asking about like tattoos and like being a, you know, a rapper and so on, and how that might affect your future, were you kind of getting at like, you know, the boardroom frowned on people who were tattooed and had a weird career before getting into
it's sort of,
real
you know,
work
it's
or whatever? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, kind of, because that's a stereotype, right? Like,
it is.
If you're gonna get like a job at any corporation, a respectable corporation in a field that isn't necessarily like creative, right? Like if you're gonna get a job at a bank, or a law firm, or so any sort of corporate job that isn't necessarily like marketing, right? Because sometimes marketing in a marketing firm, depending on what you do, can be a little bit, or the perception is they'll be a little bit more lax, right, or liberal on that.
That's why I fucking went chosen.
Right. I was gonna say, like, in marketing, they're like gonna take, that stuff
marketing
sells,
is all
right?
like degeneracy
exactly.
in America, so I'm like, okay. I'll fit
But
right
what's
in.
funny, but what's funny is that, like, so the first job I ever had out of college was for this really like high end, like white glove luxury product. It was selling like they sold they sold these jet cards on these private. So for private jets, you could buy like you could buy time on private jets, right? So it was like timeshares for private jet use. Mm-hmm. So like each of these is like for a set number of hours a year, and like the cheapest one you could buy was like 120 grand or whatever.
Holy
right?
fuck.
For a year, right? So that's like the smallest, cheapest.
Not a
one,
good
right?
deal. Like, goddamn. Yeah.
Well, it is a good deal because you don't have to own the jet, right? You can just use it. But anyway, so
It's like
but
perfect
the
nowadays. Mhm.
yeah, so like, but the ironic thing is, like, even though like there was, I think, a little bit more of a liberal attitude at this firm for what the like the salespeople, they were all sort of youngish. Though some of them were just like older male, or older white women and stuff like that. But like for the younger crowd, and for some of the people who were working like in the back office with us, some of these people were just, they were not what you would think of as like working at a place like that. Yeah. But it was sort of like, it was on the cusp of sort of being very corporate. Like there was tons of money in it, but because of like the prestige of like private jets, right? And
How long ago
who
was
rides
this?
on private jets? This was like, it's like 10, 15 years. I'm old, man.
Okay. No, yeah, I mean that's
but
surprising
like,
though, because even then they were like,
but like the prestige of like the fact that like who's on a private jet, like athletes
Posh.
and rock stars and like all these people, right?
Yeah.
So like they're okay with that. So they wouldn't be they're not going to be turned off like if like the sales guy that comes up to like sell them time on this thing has like a tattoo, right? Like they're going to be like, oh, maybe they're not just like a stuffy like, a Park Avenue sort of or Madison Avenue sales guy. They're like, they're cool. They're like me. I'm buying this from someone who's cool, right? So it's just weird. Like it's something that entered my mind.
One of my classmates in my master's program, it's like a kind of a design business program. He was like this bald white guy that had a ton of tattoos, and like he was a comedian. That was his job. And about a year after we graduated, I met up with him again, and I was like, "Hey, Connor, what are you up to?" And he said he became a management consultant.
No.
He got a job at like a very standard, top 5 management consultant firm.
just cracking jokes all day, just like everyone's like, ah.
Well, and he was like, I was like, that's kind of a stuffy place for someone like you, like you're a bit of an eccentric dude, to get a job at. And I was like, how did that work out? And he said, well, like the fact that I actually I'm like the guy with tattoos. I'm like the of the team that comes in and tries to like fix your corporation. He's like the spontaneous creative
wild
guy
card.
because he's got
Right.
exactly. And clients eat that shit up because that's what they expect from the youthful innovators today, or whatever the fuck you want to call
like
that.
a superhero team.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, they're the Avengers. They got like every niche.
The fire guy, like
We need vanilla Superman, and then you can have the crazy.
That's
guy.
right.
That's right. So
you got to have Hawkeye over there who does nothing.
So, but the thing I'm trying to get at is that like you'd be surprised like how you could have a certain look that's unconventional today, or like had some career leading up to a quote unquote real career, doing something very creative, and that becomes an asset, not a they're not like, you have tattoos, you must be. This is not we don't like, that's not really the outlook now from.
No, I agree, and that's kind of like why I'm more hopeful now. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm kind of graduating at the perfect time for it, kind of. But I'm like, I mean, especially I hate to like say this, so like it's kind of vapid to say, but like with the whole Stop Asian Hate thing, I feel like people are more willing to hire me, because they're like, all right, we got to get some more like hey, we got to stop Asian hate, like, you know what I mean? And like, fuck yeah, like I appreciate it. So
that's definitely one unfortunate thing about the Stop Asian Hate thing was you notice that like. They had that crazy, outrageous shooting in Atlanta, 6 people are dead, and then suddenly Asians become employable writers, like, for the next month or so, like, tons of op-eds, because every single fucking, news channel or paper now needs an Asian op-ed, about the issue and whatever. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's not creative stuff, like, they're hiring all these people, but they're just putting out the same, copycat content about the topic, right? To do what? To like give white people an eye into our culture or whatever, or thinking like we're animals or something. It's, I don't think it.
Who can give the best one? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and okay,
good
and so
Asian, like
these Asians are employed and stuff doing what they want to do, which is writing for big papers and whatnot. But like, to what end? We had to have 6 people from the community die in a tragic murder in order for this to come up. That was kind of disturbing to me. I don't know how you.
It is disturbing.
But like, to be employed by a tragedy rather than be employed by just your own, your own
sense
talent.
of empathy,
anything positive,
right?
Just not like
or that you're just
died,
a
right?
good candidate to do the job,
Yeah, I mean, I truly don't think people see Asians as humans over here. Like, just just to get to the root of it, like, and just like, wow, they feel pain too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, whoa. Yeah.
That's why I don't like the whole like Asians are human or something. There wasn't there that hashtag or something like that.
Please accept me.
And I'm like, come on, man. Like, I can kind of like in a little bit sort of understand why it's being said, but I just it doesn't project the strength I would want in response to.
It's like a super cry for help. Like,
help.
I mean,
like,
I think Jess said this in a recent pod, but she was saying like you have to start at a certain level. You can't start at humans, Asians are subhuman. Like you gotta at least get on the same page about some, level playing ground there before you go and, ask for more. So it's
that,
kind of
honestly. I was a lot more, like, it makes me feel kind of, like, honestly, a little cowardly because, like, I used to feel a lot more strong about these issues, and then when I saw everyone speaking up, it's kind of like, you got to be a lot more confident to be, like, the one voice in the room challenging whatever, you don't think is right, or, like, disagree with people, So, I don't know. I feel like I kind of just, like, I'm even, like, trying to, like, understand my own, culture, too, because I'm, like, I have a voice and, like, everyone's opinion matters and their perspective matters, but, like, I don't know, I just don't feel right, like, standing up so assured about it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really even know what I'm saying, you know what I mean? So, I'm just gonna offer, like, what I've been thinking, and maybe that can, like, get the gears moving, but, I don't want to, like, be a leader. Well, like, maybe if I had the tools, if I was properly equipped, I would definitely want to, but I'm not yet, so,
Well, it goes to what you're saying. Like sometimes you just got to fake it till you make it, and as long as you go in with the right attitude of like, I think it's good to go in the attitude that you're also learning as you're sort of speaking how you're feeling or what you're thinking. And I definitely feel like I've been annoyed at a lot of the people who sort of very assuredly stand up and say whatever, and I'm like, okay, it's fine to say what you want, but don't but don't like make it seem like you have all the answers, right? Like it's. Say what you want to say it with conviction, but don't represent like what you're saying as the end of,
That's the problem
expression.
Nowadays with everybody, even our own team. You know what I mean? Or I don't like to say teams because like whatever, but whatever. Like everyone's just generalizing a lot of things when they talk. You know what I mean? But we all know it's nuanced. So, but I guess we gotta like to get the point across. We gotta say it like that. But I don't know. It's kind of disheartening because, like, a lot of the fucking just dialogue these days is just, like, I don't know. It doesn't get anywhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes it feels that way. I think, did anyone else have something, like, because I can move on to the next topic if we wanted to.
Sorry to end on, like, such a somber,
No, that's cool, man.
That is this podcast.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. We can keep going about it, but I think we've just...
Yeah, I think we've beaten into the ground.
For sure. Like the past couple episodes must have been.
Yeah. I will say
fan supports the Austin soapbox, so we
appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you were saying in the last podcast, right? You were also talking about leaders, right? And you were saying like some of the quietest, just like heads down, hardworking people you have found to be really good leaders in the past, or and 100%. Like relating to that point, right? Like. Maybe the question should be asked like, okay, you say that you're not, and like, fine, I'm going to take you on your word on that. But you might be surprised, and other people might think that about themselves, and they may also be surprised, right? And like that's to say, leaders may come from unlikely sources. So I don't think like if our leaders up to now are not getting us where we want, then maybe we need different type of leaders.
That is
Yeah,
true.
for
That's
sure.
True. Yeah. Yeah, I think what it is in the Asian community is like we always have that like respect your elders kind of thing, you know, and it's kind of hard for even like let's just say a younger Asian maybe that would offer an opposing viewpoint to like, unless it was like delivered in a very like tactful way, but I feel like me and along with like other maybe people I know aren't always great at that, and sometimes I feel like we kind of drown out people that we view as maybe like erratic in a sense a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like with Asians, like we kind of like almost look down on passion a little bit. Like we kind of like view it as like foolish in a way. You know what I mean? And it's like I get that perspective, but like sometimes we just need to talk shit, like straight from the hearts with it. Because I always feel like I'm being judged. You know what I mean? So it's like I already know I'm being judged. So it's like I'm just kind of wrestling with like the idea of just like I might not be right, but at least I got it off my chest. I guess you know what I mean. So
yeah, there's different. I mean, but it's just a different perspective, right? Like other, other cultures see
You're right, yeah.
that expression of that as like you're like, here, you take this, and they're like, okay, well, we didn't fucking ask for this shit, like, but you can't take it back, right? Like you already took a shit on the living room floor, That's how they see it, right? And so that's like, anyway, that's a whole nother like.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I think that segues kind of well into sort of the last sort of topic that we wanted to touch on or sort of talk about before. Obviously, we just talk about whatever we want, but is that like, as you said, Austin, like sometimes like, or you feel that like passion is sometimes looked down upon in the Asian American community, and that sort of goes to maybe like the stereotype of like Asians being, sort of not having a personality, right? We're just sort of like
almost
we're
like
fake.
rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah,
when
like,
you're like not a meek like person, they don't know how to handle it. It's like I've never seen this character on a TV show before. That I can like box into a fucking. You know what I mean? Like yeah, dude. Like I feel like a lot of Asians or just people that are underrepresented feel like that. You know what I mean? Like we always have to fit this binary personality we've seen on some fucking TV show.
Right. Like either
you know what I mean?
either
Like,
we're mousy like cubicle workers or we're wild and crazy sort of cool Asians, right?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
we're not between.
And then we're like dumb. Like you know what I mean? Like yeah. Like we can never be both or like yeah, exactly. Like wow, they can never be like wow, that guy's like cool and smart or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like they always gotta box us one to like be better somehow than us. You know what I mean? And I'm like I'm like not the most like physically imposing guy. I'm like 5, like 6 or something, right? But like, it's a bit weird sometimes that are like people that like you. Like, why are you allowing me to make you feel any type of way? Like, it's almost like insecurity, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
And, like, when Asians say that, like, oh, they're jealous of us. And I don't like to say that, but sometimes to a degree, I feel like it's true, you know what I mean? When they see, like, how much good Asians are doing in the world and, like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's kind of like...
There's definitely people who will put down others to lift themselves up, for sure. Yeah, you're going to encounter haters,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just ranting.
No, I mean, I feel it like, dude, people made me feel bad for being good at math. Like, what is that shit? Do you know what I'm saying? But it still gets to you.
No, it does.
Like,
Honestly, that's one of
you
the
don't wanna
reasons why I
deal with that
never...
shit.
Yeah, 100%. I think
Yeah.
there's a phenomenon I read about where, like, Asians are, like, more, like, not wanting to get into math and shit now because, like, they don't want to be the fucking stereotype, you know what I mean? I'm like, that
Dude.
fucking sucks, dude. Math is important. Like, and the fact that we're being, like, fucking, like, reverse psychology shamed out of it is, like, insane. You know what I mean? Like,
I do wonder how many Twitter users have in their like description Asian who is bad at math. It's just such a. It's just
Oh,
like
God,
every
yeah.
Asian comedian. I'm an Asian who's bad at math, like that.
Yeah,
It's-
the thing is, you
uh,
can't fight it. If you're good at it, you can't fight it. Listen, I'm a software
Right,
engineer.
you're gonna
now.
be good at
I
it,
got
yeah.
a psych degree. Like I went into the medical field. I did some entertainment. Like, and
that's good. Then I was right about my
I'm here.
suspicion. I'm horrible.
Every third profile on OkCupid.
Right, is bad at math, right? So a third of the Asians on OkCupid are bad at math. But I think this just goes to sort of like this question of like where does this sort of like like what's the motivation behind us either running away from the stereotype, or you know, because some people are sort of like just have fake
100%.
personalities, right? So like, where does that come from? Like, is that natural to them? Is it learned? Like, what's causing some people to have that? And because it's sort of like we all know that person who's fake, right? Like it's awful to deal with that person. But like, what do you, yeah, like how do we feel about that?
Like fake in what sense? Like, because you know, I mean, I guess we all gotta like, I guess to a degree, but like, you know, I know what you mean. Just kind of like, always kind of like.
They're always searching for the right answer or the right thing to say to you.
Okay, gotcha.
To me, that's what it like when I think of someone who's being fake.
A person that just sways with the wind. I get you.
Or like, but always, right? It's okay to be like, to code switch or like to be one way and like at work and another with your friends, stuff like that. I mean, someone who's sort of just, you can always tell that they're like the hamster's running. And they're like, what am I supposed to say in that situation?
You talk about in the Asian community?
Yeah, in the Asian community or anywhere in your life, like, because it seems like that's like a stereotype of Asian people, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's because those are the most visible Asians, like the ones that get blue checked and platformed are always the ones that tell people what they want to hear. You know what I mean? Like, that's the problem with like a lot of this shit is like people are just so like they can't hear things without being like super passionately like blind with rage about it. You know, like can we just have like because like I mean that's the reason why people peddle all this like shit that people want to hear all the time, because it's like that gets the views, it makes people comfortable. But I guess I don't know. I guess kind of the best way to battle that would be to like somehow like make an incentive or forcefully like make people want to like like actually know the truth. You know what I mean? But I don't think people really want to know the truth.
Yeah.
They're just kind of happy with their own like perspective on life, sort of.
Chris is the one that gets credit for this, but he likes to talk about like from the perspective of like creative output from Asian Americans, that we're afraid to show like the darkest, angriest, you know, baddest sides of Asian Americans, right? Like, and maybe in part it's because people don't want to see like angry Asians, right? But it's super limiting, right? Because it means that instead, because we want to stay in that box, you end up producing the same old shit that someone else wants to hear about, or you think someone else wants to hear about, right? But the most interesting Asian characters from, you know, books and movies and so on that we've seen are the darkest ones. And you see this from Asian media, like Asian media, right? You see like the Japanese and Korean like horror genre.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And like Old Boy, you know, just like everyone loves that
Old Boy
Yeah.
is a perfect example of that. We cannot have. This is actually the example that Chris gives. Like we're not allowed to have an Asian American Old Boy, right? We had to have like
it's too badass where he's like
yeah, and not just that, but like the whole revenge plot is so far
too
gone.
dark. Yeah,
It's so
Yeah.
dark. You know, the incest shit that they get into the third movie and stuff. Is I was like disgusted and terrified, and also riveted when that review came out for the third movie in that series. I think this is true about like, it's interesting, like Asian media, right? Like when I think about anime, for example, right? Anime has some stories that are so dark and fucking twisted and like, you know, have plot twists that are like way crazier than, you know, anything in American like Endgame or whatever. I don't know what people consider to be like one of the best. I guess there's like, you know, there's what's that big twist in that Bruce Willis movie?
Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense. Yeah.
Oh my
He's the
god!
ghost, right?
That was
right. But
Ironically, M. Night Shyamalan,
was-
Asian.
oh, okay, maybe that's why. He's known for the British
like-
twist, right? But he's he's Indian American, right? Like,
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
right,
not like
yeah.
the kinds of crazy twists you see in like Asian media from not just like movies and TV, but like video games too, anime, right, as a genre.
Yeah.
Just like blow Western
man.
shit out of the water. It's you know, pretty crazy. We talked about this in our Patreon Discord a little while ago, but this famous you know, artist Miura, what's his first name? The guy who did Berserk,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Berserk
Oh yeah.
is like the darkest shit, right? Berserk
I just did a deep dive because I wasn't familiar, but like on him and his work, crazy.
Yeah, there's this big thread on Twitter of like all these crazy monsters that he's designed that are like
Insane.
all like super diverse, super out there, but also completely brutal, like tearing people's limbs apart. Some of them have penises for fingertips and shit like that. Like it's just really
Nice.
fucked up shit.
Nice.
And then you
Nice.
compare that to the American image of what a like Japanese salaryman is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And you can't
yeah.
imagine that that same person, can produce, is of a race that can produce whatever, this kind of media. But that's the perception that they have. And, in Asia, they're not bound by this. They just make whatever the fuck they want.
Right.
Right. But here in North America, as a writer, a artist, a musician, maybe, there's so much binding you. Right, to
Yes.
fit in some specific thing. So, if you're a writer, you have to write about certain things. If you're a musician, you gotta have music about certain feelings, right? And certain like stereotypes and whatnot. And like that is very unfortunate because I think it just limits what can be done, right, by an individual artistically. Yeah.
And it's like, it brings me back. It brings back to the point where it's like, some Asians may fit some of these, like, be a nerd. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's like we're not allowed to be these things without like feeling we have to like compensate for some other like thing. Like because like people are attracted to more dark Asian art because I think they want to see like delve into the minds of Asians that are maybe like shy. You know what I mean? They kind of get a
Sure.
perspective. But who's to say there's not that Asian artist that just makes like happy-go-lucky shit, right? But no one wants to like. It's almost like expected, like, you know what I mean? But back to your dark art point, though, I think that is kind of like with like that shit Parasite, a lot of it's kind of dark, and like I feel like people are attracted to the darkness of Asians in a way, and anime does have a lot of very complex plots and stuff, which is like puts a
Much
lot
more
of
than people give it credit for, I think.
puts the West to shame, and a lot of these kids see it. That's why they love it, It's like fucking deep as fuck. It makes you cry, and it's like. I mean,
I'm
think-
not like when with anime, like I feel like maybe Asian kids get into it because it's Japanese. They feel there's this maybe kinship to, even if they're not Japanese themselves, right? To art coming from Japan, from the
for
East.
sure. That's how I
But
started. Yeah.
It's interesting when like non-Asian kids are into it, right? Like when white
Yeah.
kids are into it, a lot of black kids are into
Oh,
it.
yeah, I
like,
mean-
One of my first
everyone's-
black friends, we're talking about Naruto. I was like, what the fuck, like,
Yeah, yeah, it's,
Yeah,
and like there's that's a big piece, but it's interesting when they're interested in it because it's like reaching out for this alternative content that you can't find in America, right?
Yeah.
Because like American cartoons are not willing to go there, American movies are not willing to go there, right?
It's all fucking propaganda too. Like it really, like I mean, I love. I mean, I grew up, but a lot of shows just the way that, like, I mean, it might just be the minds of the creators making them, but there's just a lot of implicit racial biases in a lot of shows that like brainwash people, So it's like, yeah, I mean, just wanted to make that point, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying. They're looking for alternative content because I think people could smell that it's bullshit sometimes too. A lot of these creators are white males, or such, and like we're always getting this one perspective, and people are starting to realize like, oh, you don't see it that way either, right? We're all like, let me, but yeah. So they're looking to other places, yeah. They're like, wow, this Asian guy made this Naruto, whatever. Like it's a lot more.
I
different,
don't think they think about it that like, it's like some Asian guy who made a particular thing, but
No.
it's just like this production.
the story's
from-
amazing first, and then they're like, oh, an Asian guy made it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, like
Yeah, but it's
Asian
it's
people
also,
could be cool, like.
it's like Japanese content for some reason, like we're so enamored with the stuff that comes from Japan. I'm not exactly sure why. I think there's like a lot of theories around it, right? But just the like idea that it's this opposite end of some spectrum from stuff they found in the West that you just can't see here, that's produced elsewhere, that makes it just like if you're just, I think it's like it's getting away from the mainstream, right? Like if you follow mainstream American pop movies or music or whatever, there's something about like Asia being this diametrically opposed thing, right? It's that Occidental versus the Oriental dichotomy that like Saeed talks about quite a bit. But I don't know if it's just like pure exoticness of something from Asia, or is it that the things, I like to think that it's not just like the fact that it's from a different place and therefore makes it exotic and interesting, but that like the ideas that come from there are on their own amazing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like Parasite as a movie was like a great movie that maybe followed American tropes, and in fact, he was, you know, Bong Joon-ho was inspired by Scorsese, right? Quite a bit, right? But it wasn't great just because it was Korean. It was great because it was a great movie, kind of thing.
For
So,
sure.
and I think
people they end leaving that it was just great, but maybe it pulled them in because it was some exotic thing. But I guess it's a net positive either way. But you know what I mean? But
yeah, well, I mean, they're also trying to make like a like Western spin-off, like HBO spin-off of.
Yeah, they're making a
It's not-
show.
God
Yeah,
damn it.
it's not
There's like a
those
Parasite
Disney
verse now. I'm like, why are we making this a universe? Like, why?
and Bong Joon-ho is kind of like a pretty like socially conscious guy. So I'm wondering, like, you know, I'm pretty sure he's aware of like racial shit. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of seeing where he takes it. You know, so.
I mean, I don't know. I wonder if he does. I mean, I don't know if
That's true. He's kind of
Koreans
an
in Korea
admirer.
have
Yeah.
the same sense of race. I don't think they have the same sense of race as Americans do.
No.
So
They-
I don't know whether we can.
They
count
fetishize
on
European
that.
stuff a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's socially conscious. I think he's class conscious. Probably much more in the Korean setting, but you know, I mean, he's making money. I think that's what it comes down to, right? Like,
Yeah.
if HBO is going to throw you millions and millions of dollars, why not? I guess.
Is he directly attached to the project though, or are they just kind of licensing the name?
I'm not sure. We can look that up. But either way, he's making money off it, right?
I'm probably, you know, I mean, I don't know like the specifics of his contract, but I mean, it's a very, what I'm saying is like, it's a big difference between whether he's like actually directing or actually producing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, versus like, you know,
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
just
if he's
based on
yeah.
that movie.
If he's just licensing it, then yeah, that's one thing for sure.
Yeah.
Versus like directing.
I like this comment from Pogo. Anime is associated, but live action content isn't disassociated from Asianness. I don't know if that's.
One second, open the blinds real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I don't know if it's actually true. Like, I feel like anime is associated with being Asian, right? Not because, and often the characters they depict are not necessarily Asian characters. They're like often Western characters, right? Like in Fullmetal Alchemist and even like Attack on Titan and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
there are a lot of
Right.
anime sort of set in Europe.
That
Yeah.
whole other conversation, they're like, you're right. Why do Japanese people make all these Eurocentric like cartoons? And,
But I think Philip, you're gonna make a point about that.
Oh no, it's just I think it is associated with Asianness, and in part because like the language is it's always Japanese, right? So that alone I think carries it away and makes it feel like it's
No, a lot of people watch dubs, dude.
really.
It's a shame, but it's true.
Yeah, I would say probably.
probably nowadays, right? Like, no, yeah. Because back in the days, we used to like shame people for watching dubs.
Dude,
like, what?
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, who the fuck watches dubs? Like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
But I also feel like there's like anime itself as a specific cartoon, like animated art form, has taken on this Asian tinge to it because I've been watching like Castlevania, the new season
Yeah.
4 came up. I was watching the first 2 seasons, and it's Western produced. You know, I think it's not all, but a lot of Western artists doing the art. But the style isn't the anime style, right? Like it's a Netflix production mimicking
Yeah, I see
the
it.
anime
Yeah, it's
style.
not Western anime,
Yeah.
right? It definitely has
but it still
a
has
Western
this
animation.
It still
It's like
has this
Yasuke,
kind of,
right?
Yeah, I think Yasuke is another good example too. But
Oh,
Yasuke
yeah.
is like meant to like look like Ninja Scroll and specific kind of.
Because they got the
samurai era.
animators
it-
of like one of the big anime houses in Japan to do it. I think I forgot which one.
It
Yeah.
gave me really strong Boondock vibes, and not just because it's
Oh,
a
yeah,
black
yeah,
protagonist.
sure, yeah.
Like,
But the
the
style.
music, the way they use music, and yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, the soundtrack was fire. Honestly, I was kind of thrown off by all the like mystical stuff. I was like, okay, like like cyborgs and shit. I was like, oh what?
Yeah, that's what me out. I did
That
not.
was a little weird. Like they didn't explain that. They're like, oh, so they're robots and mechs. Okay.
yeah, werewolves and shit. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, personally, it got me more into it because I'm like, oh shit, there's all sorts of shit that can happen.
yeah.
But when
That
they
was sick.
first showed up, I was totally not expecting it. I was just expecting normal ass humans fighting with normal ass swords.
It's like magic and steampunk at the same time.
I don't know about steampunk. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's fantasy.
Yeah, it was dope though. It was dope. But I agree with the comment on the board. Everyone I grew up with anime too was like, you know, kind of. I hate to say, kind of a weeaboo, but you know, not in a bad sense. I was friends with them. Like that's what bonded us. You know what I mean? I never took it unless there was some weirdo kid that was just like a super fetishizer weirdo. You know, you can always point those guys out, but I feel like anime has been one of the like honestly biggest like things that have helped me make friends. Honestly, in America, to be honest. Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. I think the whole weeaboo thing is just like another. It's just another sub. It is a subculture, right? But
it's almost like a shameful word. So like I don't want to use it anymore because it's like used to shame people. But it's like why would you? Yeah, like they want to get into that culture. Yeah, like
but also at the same time, it's very like maybe back then, maybe back like a decade ago, it was considered a very very nerdy endeavor. But now, you know, we did this podcast right with Kang, who's from Australia, as a teacher in Australia, right? And he's talking about how, like, with the K-pop and K-dramas being two big things, but with all that combined, like, all of Asian media in at least Australia, like at the high schools he was teaching at, is considered super normal. Like, it's just super normal for, like, popular kids. And the litmus test is always, like, you know, what's the hot blonde cheerleader into, right? Like, that's the mainstream, right? BTS. And, like, he was basically saying, like, even, you know, kids that you don't expect to be into anime and K-pop and Asian media, you know, white kids, right? Like that's the subtext. They are now. So I think it is different. I mean, there's still very extremely like overly obsessed nerds who are weeaboos, but there's a nerd culture for everything. Like, you know.
And so much of the stuff that I think, you know, we all grew up with as being really seen as nerdy, and like that were sort of segregated. Like none of the sports, like none of the athletes would really want to say that they were like into video games. Like people played them, but they weren't like gamers, right? They were just sort of like,
people
this is what I did, but like
for it too.
Yeah, but I'm like an athlete, right? Like you know, I also do mentoring and stuff with like, you know, younger kids, and I have nephews and stuff, and like there's some pretty like, you know, serious athletes, but every kid is into video games. And they like they're really into sports and they're really into video games, and that's not seen as weird. Like to them, that's normal. No. And they have like they're social. They have friends, so it's not like they're isolated. So like a lot of this stuff that I think that people that are in their 30s and maybe early 40s are sort of holding on to, like all this hurt, right? Like this emotional like hurt, like which I understand, right?
Dude, yeah.
They've got to like realize that shit's changed, and they can't write like their TV shows and stuff and movies with that as like a central theme. Like it doesn't fly. Like it doesn't resonate with anyone.
My parents,
which sucks, but like hard. You know, because I don't know what they're gonna write about, but like it's just not true anymore.
I think some of them felt like they like missed the boat or something. But honestly, I mean, you can be old and like late. I think like you can do anything now, and like no one's like if you're brave enough to do it, you know what I mean? You could like I think get a following anywhere these days. I see grandmas like play fucking like Skyrim and get like huge followings.
Yeah, grandma gamer.
Like, her exactly. She's awesome.
She's awesome.
Like, if you're just brave enough to do it, like you know what I mean? Yeah.
Sorry, you gonna say, Jong?
Oh, just my parents lied to me when they said that I could be a professional gamer.
Dude,
you couldn't or you could?
Could not. It was not a thing when I like.
No, not when we were growing up, man.
No, it's
not.
But
guys,
I'm sure there are people that are resentful about it. But
I'm a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I was born in '95, and it's like the cutoff year between millennials and Generation Z, right? It's all.
That's right. You're right on the cusp.
Yeah, so I get to see both sides a little, but. I mean, yeah, it's been ingrained in the pop culture of Gen Z, like anime, Twitch, video games, and just like that cult. You know, they all say all this like poggers and like shit like that, you know? And it's like, you know, it really just kind of shows me that like Asian soft power is just taking over, to be honest with you, because all of those things have to do with Asia, you know, like anime, you know, all these video games usually, like, you know, I mean, the video game industry is, you know, it's basically like more. I feel like it's more Asian than fucking American, in my opinion.
Dude, before
even though,
Microsoft
absolutely.
Picture,
yeah,
it was all Japan.
Exactly. So like everything that Asians have been doing, and that we've been getting like our ideas stolen and never appreciated, like it's coming to a head because a lot of these younger kids care about social issues and they care about things like this. So they always give credit where credit is due, in a sense, you know. So it's almost like the best time for Asians to be doing shit because like. These kids are gonna tell you the truth. You know what I mean? They're not gonna be like, oh, racist. You know what I mean? There are racist little kids, but like nowadays they're more like in the minority. They get like shamed more. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like it's like Asians always needed that, someone to just stick up for them. You know what I mean? And nowadays more people are willing to do it. So it's like, yeah, more power, to us. So
when I look at like Asian TikTokers, whatever the fuck they're called.
What is it called?
I definitely
Talkers?
I definitely see that, and they're all Gen Z, right? Like I think that you see some Gen Z.
I mean, what about my Korean dad?
Okay, well, he's the only non-Gen Z guy.
Yeah,
It's
not-
like,
I don't want to talk about that guy.
Like,
he's like a
oh
Gen
my God.
Xer. He's
Yeah,
like
I saw that
40
whole
or something.
controversy
Yeah,
with
he's
him,
in his
bro.
40s.
He's supporting whatever that girl. What's that fucking? Everyone talks about her. Elaine, whatever the fuck her name is.
Huh?
Boba
Like-
Kami?
Yeah, Boba Kami. Yeah,
Oh, man, okay.
he was like supporting her, right? I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm just gonna I'm not gonna say anything too controversial here, but yeah, I mean,
You're gonna nope
You
out
know.
of that conversation.
yeah,
I think it's just an interesting, like, it's just a very interesting place to go, especially if you're an older Asian guy. You're not sure like what people are thinking now, like, because there's so many people that have
they
this,
like me now.
there's these like guys who like have this level of kind of swagger and like not just confidence but like overconfidence that I have a hard time picturing in a Gen Y, a millennial Asian. Like it's
Yes,
just
well,
like the
Yeah.
barrier has completely been shattered between the two generations. I just like don't,
That-
can't even picture it.
They were treated a lot nicer in school. You know what I mean? They got the confidence. In elementary school, yeah.
Well,
Like,
it
they were-
doesn't even feel like they were treated nicely in school. It just feels like they were treated like normally.
Right,
Like
right,
there's like
which is the difference, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the level of swagger is incredible only relative to like older Asians, but
Yeah,
the level of
yeah, yeah.
swagger from these like Asian TikTok guys is equivalent with just like what you'd expect from a white frat guy who just says whatever's on his fucking stupid mind, right?
Yep.
So
And it's-
which is nothing special, really.
Right,
So
right.
it's-
Dude, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of like needs, but it's like the coolness. Like, okay, now we're being treated like regular people, so
Yeah.
it's like a sociological like phenomena that we're just we're like, oh, we can be that now. Like, we can be cool, like swagger up. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's like this deep psychological thing that I've always thought about with Asians too. Like, just like the way we're treated, and like the way you treat anyone is kind of like how they view themselves eventually, and it's like a mirror thing. It's like all this fucked up shit, right? That's like when I see like mediocre white people, dude. I have some white friends, and I see the privilege firsthand. You know what I'm saying? Like they get congratulated for this shit that's like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, not to knock any, but like I see it though. Like, you know what I mean? People are like almost more willing to like, cause what I think it is because they're more like. They think they're gonna get a more comfortable conversation talking to a white person. It's like it's gonna be a comfortable conversation. There's not gonna be any like weirdness. There's gonna be great job or like it's almost like expected,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Whereas like an Asian, it's like it's like an awkward conversation. They want to avoid it. I don't know. That's what I see.
there's no hesitation, right? There's no like wondering what they're thinking about you.
It's like we're living a script, bro.
'Cause you're on level.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like we're living the Truman Show. You know what I'm saying? Or like everyone doesn't know they've been mind washed with these like binary like you know what I mean ways to treat people. But it's kind of like I don't know. I see it with people that are especially very gullible and easily influenced. I mean, how many people are like that in society? There's probably a lot, right? And like these people like influence other people, and it's like, so where does this like root of thought start? You know what I mean? Because we're all just like humans that just copy each other at the end of the day. But it's like we all start seeing like we see Mr. whatever. I'm just gonna use Mr. Miyagi because that's like the first like negative, not negative, but like just Asian like, and then all Americans see old Asian guys as Mr. Miyagi, And then like he's treated that way through like a lot of different communities, and then the way like we treat other people, we kind of like copy that too, like oh, my racist white mom might like treat black people badly, so I'm gonna treat them too because I get this like connection that they're getting treated badly for a reason, right? We think people think reasonably, but I don't know. That's like maybe I'm not giving enough credit to people that just have like their own like
Independent
conscious.
thought.
Yeah, but like I feel like it's like a lot of my faith is being shit into the ground a lot lately because it's like a lot of people almost don't like. I mean, you know what I mean? Not a lot of people, but well, no, a lot of people. Like, yeah, not independent thought. They're just insecure. They don't know what to think or don't do the due diligence. So they just want to like.
Yeah, there's a lack of kind of awareness or whatever it is. Yeah.
And I'm at fault of it too. It's hard to care all the time where you're like deeply delving into like a lot of issues, and it's easier to take the shortcut and be like, you know, I know about that and get the cliff notes, right? But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's something we all just kind of have to like be more due diligent about, I guess. Sorry, I talked in a complete circle there, I know, but yeah.
No worries, man. All right. Did anyone like, you know, we're trying to be disciplined with the length of our live streams. So we're coming up on about a minute and 15. Did anyone have anything else to say? Because I think it would be really good to end with one of your music videos, and then we can sort of wrap up any sort of like last comments or anything that anyone wanted to say. So the video I'm gonna queue up here is.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Like with that conversation we just had, what was like the entry segue into that again? Like I just want to make.
It's not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I do want to. Also, I do want to ask you. So you just graduated from college like a week ago.
Yes, sir.
Congrats.
Thank you.
What are the big plans for the next few months? What are you up to?
Next few months, well, I'm gonna go to Seattle with my mom next week, and then after that, I'm just gonna go deep into like looking for a job, honestly. Because right now, I just need capital. You know what I mean? I need to be independent. Yeah, but damn, you know, it's like being independent. You get caught up. You have a lot to lose after that. You know what I mean? I don't want to lose like my like. I don't know. I guess I just need to boss up and just be a man. You know, you can be responsible and make moves, right, and change things. So yeah, I'm still a kid, guys. I'm a late bloomer, really. So
that's cool, bro. It's cool, man. But yeah, no. Well, good luck with the job hunt, man. Like, just keep in mind, it's just a job. It's not your life.
Oh, dude.
You know, we've talked about that ad nauseum. We've talked about it's like it's just a paycheck.
Oh, I'm the like no, I will. Kissing up to the boss is like the hardest thing for me to do. I was like, oh god.
Well, don't lose your job. Well, unless you don't want it, but yeah.
That's the easiest thing for me to do, dude. I swear to God. I just gotta get my as I'm like battling that as an Asian, because like to be honest, I feel like a lot of workplaces I go, I'm like I want to like be the non-stereotypical Asian kind of, you know. So I kind of want to like for sure. So it's like if it's like it's like a lose-lose sometimes. Like you lose your job or you like live up to the stereotype and kind of like lose self-worth of yourself, like, you know what I mean? But yeah,
that's why it's good to have a low attachment to your job, so you can speak up about shit and not you know, get too carried away, not have it kind of weigh on you, right?
Dude, we need fuck you money, like that's all we need. And then we could just like, all right, all you racist fuckers, like fuck off.
Right.
I mean, some of us do, you know. But
some people do, yeah.
But dude,
none of us on this call though.
Yeah. But then they don't want. Well, I don't want to generalize again, like I said, but like, yeah, you know, we need more rich people to put the ladder down and not pull it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's
right.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
it's a problem in a lot of places in a lot of ways.
That's a whole nother philosophical conversation we could save for next time.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I'm gonna queue up this music video. The one I'm gonna show is let's see, where is it? GSA. Do you have anything to say about that? I mean, it came out in 2014. Maybe I'll just play it, and then if you want to talk about it afterwards, right?
For sure. Oh, just preface, like, honestly, I was trying to write about, this is like when I was trying to write about almost like Asian stuff before it was even like in the consciousness. So yeah. All
right, cool, man. Let me cue it up.
Not directly, but yeah.
All the signs of a dying nation. God save America. Just look around and see the traces. God save America.
They wanna desecrate the God, but cannot fuck with them, cause they illustrate facades and break bread with the pigeons who don't think that my flow's sick with my description. Eyes chink, but my vision don't fit your prescription. Back when I used to write poems in my kitchen with a pen and a pad, knowing that no one was listening. That's when I realized that rapping wasn't different and shady was white, so it's only right I wanted in it. Then I started spitting when I first heard it was written, when I found God's son and knew that this was my religion. Dropped my first mix mixtape and called it ammunition. Got a small amount of people to start noticing my mission, but it just wasn't enough to stop the fucking itching in my heart to take part of something bigger, make a difference in the city of Los Angeles, where the greedy and scandalous speak many different languages. Girls are mothers for graduates, smoking cannabis, hydroplaning, traffic accidents, hipsters, thugs, and evangelists all make up my cohabitants. Plus the sun is always shining, so we getting shaded, and that shit you thought just started popping, ready overplayed it, bitch. And I never hated, but I ain't with the bullshit, so get up on my face, kid. Before I give your ass a facelift, show you give the extra measure, homie, go and face it. Been talking about me frontin' like I ain't the nicest. One day they gon' cop my shit no matter what the price is. Might just sell my shit for a bill like Nipsey. Might just go on a world tour like a gypsy. Pimp speed, recognizing the game, respecting it, neglecting the fact I'm coming in and I'm wrecking it. Shooting, directing it, cutting, dissecting it, taking all the hate that you got for me, deflecting it, homie. I'm trying to be the best. The sun rises in the east, but it sets in the west. Word to Jalen, word to the pride, Polish bitch.
Nice. Takes me back.
All right, yeah, man, that track is fire.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. Yeah, it was when I was a lot more just kind of like throwing paint at the canvas. You know, I'm not overthinking so much. I think that's kind of what I need to go back to. Just kind of not giving a fuck what people think about it. Now I'm just like, oh my god, so much movement's going on, cancel culture. Fuck all them. Right?
That's a good way to put it. How old were you when you made that track?
Man, I think I was like 19. Yeah, 19.
Holy shit! Yeah, that's crazy.
Damn, man.
Thank you guys,
19.
appreciate
Does
it.
does that seem like a long time ago to you?
Hell yeah. I felt like I've been through a lot of shit since then, so I'm like, wow, you know, like I was still spitting that, you know, I was still kind of innocent and like, I still am, but, you know, more so.
Yeah, 19, man. 19 seems like forever ago. Like
How old are you
forever.
guys? I don't want to, you know.
I mean,
put you on the spot, but-
I mean, I'm gonna be 40 this year, so it's literally
Okay.
half a lifetime ago.
For sure, yeah. It's like my brother's
You know?
age. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, so does the message, like what you're sort of, you know, rapping about, like does it still resonate with you, or do you feel like, oh, you've come a long way, or it doesn't?
No, it resonates. It's honestly, it resonates with me exactly. Like I feel like I would have
Yeah.
wrote that today, to be honest, because it just goes to show. I mean, no, I mean we made a lot of progress as Asians, so I wouldn't like maybe write it like that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I still feel that way for sure. Like
Cool.
the Asian perspective is not, yeah, for sure.
This is a good question from Poga. How much is it the beat or the lyrics that makes a song, maybe a hip hop song, become popular?
Man, I guess now there's a lot of subgenres of rap, so I think it depends. Like, you know, there's the more melodic, non-lyrics focused, or the boom bap lyrics focused. So it depends. Nowadays, I think it's more the beat, though, for sure.
I feel the beat's such a big part because like so much of it because hip hop and rap is popular music, you need to have that pop music hook that you get from a good beat or a backing track or whatever, right?
No, you're
I mean,
absolutely right. It is the beat. Sorry.
No, I mean, I think it depends, like, kind of what kind of fan you are too. But the beat, you can't have one without the other, man. Like,
Sure.
the beat sets the tone, right? But the lyrics and the rhythm of the lyrics, the delivery, like that is
Makes the song, for
that-
sure.
Yeah, like that's a huge part of it too.
Yeah.
So like I don't really know if you can dissect them and separate them and be like, you know, one. It's the interplay between the two that makes the song.
Exactly. But the only reason I would give it to beats is because more people, like, no one would listen to an acapella, no matter how good it, like, you know, it was, though.
I mean,
True.
it's-
But
it's
that's what
over
poetry is, though. That's how I got into rapping.
Right.
I like poetry,
Exactly.
yeah, so, yeah.
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 I would maybe wager that like if it was about the lyrics, a lot of it today, getting back to the previous topic, is about shock factor, right? Think about like WAP, Wet Ass Pussy, right? Like that song, like that was, I mean, that was engineered to go viral because you knew they were gonna fucking say that like so and so put out this really ludicrous, like disgusting, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it got like right wingers pissed off, so like it's a little bit political
yeah.
minded too, you know, and that just made it more and more viral, right, from all the news that came out from it. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of that on the lyric side.
Yeah, I think all these marketing experts are in a room like, you know, how can we hit all the fucking like crossways of like movements? So it's like feminism, sexual empowerment, like, you know what I mean? Like, and they're like, this is gonna
But
smash
do it
Twitter.
in such
like,
a ridiculously profane song that like it's gonna
Exactly.
blow up, right?
It's sort of like
Exactly.
Little Nas X, right? Like his last song. It just seemed like he threw everything into that.
yeah,
It was
exactly.
completely over the top, you know, because he
Exactly.
knew it was gonna
The
go
religious
viral.
people.
Yeah, well,
the
yeah, and he did it
fucking-
completely
yeah.
consciously, knowing it was going to piss everyone off,
Awesome, great,
right? Which
Yeah.
is great. I mean, I guess it's fine, whatever. I don't care, but
That's the thing with these like newer Generation Z artists. You got to be so internet savvy, like meme savvy. You got to really know how to work these people. You know what I mean? Because honestly, outrage is the #1 marketing tool. So I mean, that's just. I think that'll always be like kind of like a universal rule, sort of. Because people get mad, and that's like the #1 way they like. Passion is when they get their money out, right? So.
I wonder if, in a sense, that's why rap and hip hop is like has become pop music, because outrage and like the kind of things they did outrage people, namely like black artists sang songs that outraged white listeners, right, which maybe drew some virality early on. Like now, because it's all outrage, that like that genre does better than like indie rock's not about you know, indie pop or whatever was the last most popular.
they're all sad and heartbroken, man.
They're not all sad. They could be
I know,
poppy
just
and
kidding.
stuff, but they're definitely not like trying to be outrageous. Like this
Not
is
the country singers.
You know? Yeah, right. Which is
Yeah.
why I'm interested if there's some kind of resurgence in like punk music, because punk music was like the track of rock and roll that was about outrage, right? Whereas in like alternative, which became indie pop, was never really about outrage. It kind of just died off because it became all folksy shit. Right?
It was never counterculture. Yeah. It was like being against the man, like, you know what I mean? Before the genre's corporatized, you know,
This is
before
how
the hair metal. Like,
yeah, this is actually, I had an early conversation with Jong where I was lamenting how like I thought that, you know, Asian hip hop artists was like copying black culture, copying a style that was popularized by black folks. And I'm not talking about the cultural appropriation part. I was just saying like
That's true, though. That's
why
true.
can't we make our own genre? And Jong taught me a lesson. He said to me, well, the reason why you probably don't remember this, maybe because you're hiding. I don't know. I don't know.
I should have rolled the joint.
I just don't ever think about it as like teaching a lesson. You know?
No, but he was like, what he said to me was like, well, I think the reason why rap music resonates with Asians and why Asians can do well with rap, with the genre of rap, is that rap is about, you know, at least in the originality and its core, about that resistance, right?
That's how I see it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
That and
That's
the
how I
like
relate to
confident bravado too, you know, like
Yeah.
strong. It's like strength and like aggressiveness. I think a lot of Asians like.
Yeah, which come from experiences that Asian Americans have in maybe a slightly different way than very different way than Black Americans, but there is still that, you know, that frustration that gets put out through a genre like hip hop and rap, but not through a genre like, you know, melodic indie pop or whatever.
For sure.
Yeah, and
100%. It's pervade
again,
way
this
better.
This is like coming from just how I relate to hip hop or rap, right? Like my experience, you know, that's why I say that. And like, you know, like Pogo was saying, like he doesn't know any of Future's lyrics, but his beats are great. Yeah, like okay, like that. Maybe some people I listen to for the beats, but some of my favorite artists, like the ones that are most meaningful to me, it's the message that I remember. You know, like some of Brother Ali's tracks where he's writing. He wrote a song to his son, you know, like I don't know if you guys know Brother Ali or any of his backstory. But in Fahim, he you know, he apologizes to his son for like going on tour and all the mistakes that he's made, and like for me, I could relate to that real hard.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not the beat; it really is like the lyrical content that is meaningful to me.
And there's nothing specifically
Right.
Black about that experience either. That's like
No.
maybe universal, right? And you know,
Yes.
I'm sure Asians have come across it too.
Yeah, and like more in resistance, like you know, like the things that I would listen like through Immortal Technique or like even KRS-One. Like KRS-One like taught me life lessons straight up.
Straight up.
You know,
A lot of rappers taught me a lot of life lessons. 100%.
yeah. So just you know, just I think all those other all those experiences culminate for me in that way.
This comment from
Sure.
Pogo is interesting. K-pop is the extreme opposite of outrage baiting, and it's super popular. And I think the reason for that is actually the reason why K-pop fans purport to like K-pop and
Yes.
K-drama. and
Yeah,
that
dude. Because they're tired of all this shit, dude. They're tired of all the drama, the negative shit. They're looking for that positive shit, dude. People are dying for the positive shit.
And it's not just the positive shit, but it's also like K-pop as a popular music form is willing to go, just like with rap versus other forms of music from the West. K-pop is a form of music that is willing to go where the mainstream forms are willing to go. I.e., in K-pop, like the men are willing to talk about insecurities. The men are willing to talk about depression. The men are willing to talk about these things where Justin Bieber ain't talking that shit. Drake is not talking that shit either. Shawn Mendes, I just named 3 Canadian people, I just realized. They're very popular. But maybe they get, there's sad mopey songs, right? But they don't talk
but
about
they're not,
emotions in a way
not the same.
that K-pop, like K-pop lyrics get into. And it also makes me think of that thing I learned recently that in like K-dramas, like part of the reason why women like K-dramas is because the guys in those stories cry. Like they're actually, willing to express emotion.
You're absolutely right.
Despite the stereotypes. And so that's interesting to me that like people are saying, oh, that's different. I like that now, right?
I think people are tired of the false bravado of like trying to be tough all the time. Like, I think vulnerability is kind of like the biggest way you could get on the side of people, whether they agree with you or not. You know what I mean? Because if you just show the real side of yourself, you're willing to like break down the wall and extend the leaf. Whatever the expression is, but
Fig
for
branch.
sure. Yeah,
Fig
the
branch?
yeah, the
Olive
fig
branch.
branch, the olive branch. Yeah, and I mean. Especially women see it, women are like the number one like people that see through a guy's like fucking like insecure bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So it's like that's why a lot of them like this K-pop stuff because they can see that these guys are just kind of being themselves and not like trying to be like this super macho fucking guy. Like, you know what I mean? That's like what I see when I see that. You know what I mean? Because it's always the guy that's like more comfortable with himself that usually like pulls more girls because they're just like not always trying to like be a dick or prove something. And this is like a macro level on like the like entertainment as a whole. Like they're starting to see the pureness of like that kind of like I don't know. They say it's like so manufactured and stuff, but in my opinion, like so is a lot of this rap shit, dude. Like honestly, these fools are all just like
like BTS, as my wife will tell me, is different than a lot of the other male
dude,
K-pop
they're all orphans,
groups,
bro.
huh?
Aren't they all orphans? Like,
Are they?
Yeah, dude.
In real life?
I mean, okay, someone fact check me on this shit, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
like
that's a big-
Yeah, sure. That's
Yeah,
a
wait,
big claim, dude. That's a huge claim.
let me
No.
check. I'm pretty sure that was like their origin story that they all come from like pretty shitty families.
Oh my god, if that's true, then that goes into because we've talked about how like every fucking like hero in the world, right?
Yeah.
In fiction and now in real life are orphans, right? Like they all have this like origin story of like they got their No, right?
Okay.
All right, good.
That makes sense. I was
That
like,
would have
what
been
the fuck?
that. But my wife makes
Who
the
the fuck
point
told
that
me
like.
that shit?
But my wife makes the point that even BTS is not like the norm of male K-pop like pop groups, right? Like
Okay.
they are different
Sorry about
even
that.
from their sort of genre or their peers. In that sort of vulnerability or like just
Sure.
in who they are, right? And their willingness to like, be more themselves, right? Like they,
Yeah.
like so they're
Probably
not
better
like
than
they're not indicative of the K-pop industry as a whole. But it could be why they're popular.
Yeah,
Could be why they're
maybe
super
that's why
popular.
they're the most popular of
Yeah.
all the bands out there. Right?
Especially in the world, if you want to talk about the world,
Yeah.
they
And I'm not
actually
well
aren't
versed
that
enough to
popular in
speak on
Korea.
it, so I don't know much K-pop to be honest. So
Yeah. But yeah, he's laughing at our. Oh my God, are they all orphans?
Dude,
that would have been perfect though. I would have been like my theory about how everyone wants orphans to be have
That's how you
superpowers
know
would be.
none of us are big fans though. 'cause,
at
like,
least
many
two
us
of them are
were,
though.
we'd be
At
like,
least two
no.
of them are.
That's okay. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They're gonna have these like all white K-pop bands now. We should have an all orphan K-pop band.
Ah,
They're like,
Oh, they're
Oh
already
yeah,
creating
that's what he
those,
was
yeah.
saying. There's going to be a massive
why they gotta
controversy
call
when
it
the
a K-pop band though. If it's like, you're not fucking Korean. Like, it's cool. Just go make a pop band. It's not.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
pop
that's
band. Why is it a K-pop band?
but because I think like K-pop has an aesthetic to it now, right? Like it has this specific kind of
I guess.
sound, like style of dance. There's the blend of rap and hip hop in K-pop now is like part of the signature. Not that American
Yeah.
pop doesn't have that either, but there's this aesthetic to it now. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. There
Not
is an
just because
aesthetic.
it's popping and it's making money and they want in on it.
See, that was kind
yeah.
of like the thing I was gonna use as a marketing tool. I was be like, damn, dude, what if someone just called themselves like the first American K-pop artist? Like, and they were like a Korean American dude or some shit. I was like, that'd be kind of dope. Like, honestly,
Aren't they working on one already? Like,
Yeah.
probably, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But like, I actually think it wouldn't work as being like a Korean American dude to say that. I think you would have to be white.
Oh God, yeah, you're probably
Right?
right. Yeah.
I think you or yeah, I think you'd have
You'd have
to
to
be
be
white.
Actually,
crazy,
in
like
the
Eminem or
Korean
some shit, and like
system.
make
Yeah.
a splash.
Um,
I guess if they're
so
going
they're going to be in the
through
trainee
and
system
everything,
under those Korean labels after the talent competition show.
then I guess it is. I don't know.
All right.
Fuck it.
I mean, I don't know
Okay.
how many of them are going to make it through the trainee program. That shit is brutal, man. All right. I don't like cutting off these conversations because they're always so awesome. But
Oh, hey, wait. Quick question. What is
Yeah.
GSA?
Oh, it stands for God Save America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, yeah,
I was
nice.
curious.
Still needs. Yeah. Still that still hits that title.
I mean, I'm not religious, but the sentiment, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not very religious either, to be honest.
All right. So cool. I did want to end with the music, but that's okay. We had a really great conversation, and thanks AK for or Austin for giving us your time, and it was fun, guys. Philip and Jong.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming on.
Any closing comments, guys?
All Asians support each other, man. Like, if you don't like each other, at least try to make a decent effort to be like not a petty person. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
If you don't like each other.
Yeah, like don't be like, you don't have to tear each other down. Just ignore each other if you don't like each other, I guess.
I like it. I like it.
I like that.
Down
I
with
like
that.
that. No harm, no harm. All right, guys, it was really great. And everyone, I guess just as a little end of housekeeping, please subscribe to us on YouTube. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have a live stream. Hopefully we'll have a guest every week. It was really great having Austin this week. And again, join our Patreon if you like what we do. We do the Escape from Planet A podcast, and we still occasionally publish articles and stuff like that. So, yeah. Thanks,
Thank you guys
everyone.
so much for having me. Everyone tune in next time.
All
Thanks for
right.
coming. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.